This is the story of something that happened to me a few years ago. I don't talk about it often, but tonight, I just feel like I need to share it. Maybe because it's late and quiet. Maybe because I feel like someone should know. So this is the story of how I made a new friend, and how that friend nearly ruined my life. It all started when I moved to a new city. I didn't know anyone there. No family, no friends. Just me, a suitcase, and a small rented apartment that smelled like old wood and forgotten memories. The place was on the 3rd floor, kind of dark, with a view of an alleyway. But it was cheap, and I was starting a new job, so I took it. The first week was lonely. I worked all day, came home, ate something cold or out of a box, and then just sat there, staring at my phone, hoping someone would call. But no one did. One night, I came home, late from work. It was raining hard and I was soaked to the bone. As I climbed the stairs, I saw a guy sitting outside the door to my apartment. He looked about my age, maybe a little younger. He was wearing a hoodie, jeans, and sneakers that were wet like mine. "Hey," he said, standing up. "You live here?" "Yeah," I replied, a bit confused. "I just moved in next door," he said with a smile. Figured I'd say hi. We talked for a bit. His name was Matt. He said he'd just moved from another city looking for a fresh start. He seemed normal, friendly even. We laughed about the weather, talked about the building, and after a while, I invited him in for a cup of coffee. That night, we talked for hours, and it felt good. He was funny, quick-witted, and easy to be around. It felt like I finally had someone in this cold, quiet city. Over the next few days, Matt and I became close. We hung out almost every evening. He'd come over, or I'd go to his place. We played video games, watched movies, and shared stories. He told me about his rough past, how people betrayed him, how he never really had a true friend. I felt sorry for him. One night he looked at me and said, "You're different. I feel like I can trust you, like we were meant to be friends." It felt nice. But something about the way he said it made a small chill run down my spine. At first, I ignored the strange things, like how he never got calls or messages, how his apartment was always cold and barely had any furniture. He said he was still moving in, and then there were the nights I'd hear noises, soft scratching on the walls, whispering even when he wasn't home. I told myself it was just the old building settling. One evening, I got a call from work asking if I could cover the night shift. I said yes and told Matt I'd be gone. He smiled and said, "No worries, I'll keep an eye on your place." That night, around 2 a.m., I got a text from my own number. It said, "You shouldn't have left me alone." My blood went cold. I stared at the screen, unsure if it was a joke. I tried calling Matt, but no answer. When I got home in the morning, my apartment was a mess. Furniture moved, drawers open, and weird symbols drawn on my walls, in what looked like ash. I rushed next door to confront Matt, but his door was open, and his apartment empty. No furniture, no boxes, nothing, just dust, like no one had ever lived there. I ran to the landlord and asked about the guy in apartment 3B. The landlord gave me a strange look. "That place is empty," he said. "Has been for months. You're the only one on that floor right now." I didn't believe him. I dragged him up to show him, but when we opened the door to 3B, it was sealed shut. Dusty, cobwebs everywhere, old air. That night, I barely slept. I kept hearing whispers, the sound of someone pacing in my living room even though I had locked the door. I stayed under the covers, sweating and shaking. The next morning, on my kitchen table, there was a Well, out in Matt's handwriting, it said, "You were supposed to be my friend forever. Why did you leave me alone?" I moved out that day. I didn't take much, just enough to fit in my car. I left the rest behind, but the story doesn't end there. A week later, in my new apartment, far away from that building, I got a knock on the door. It was a delivery, a box, no name, no return address. Inside was a photo of me and Matt. But the thing is, I never took that photo. And in the picture, Matt's face was wrong. His eyes were too dark, his smile too wide. And behind him, barely visible, was something shadowy, tall, with long fingers. I threw the photo away and changed my number. But he still finds me sometimes. Sometimes I'll wake up and find little notes stuck to my mirror. Sometimes I'll hear someone whispering my name just before I fall asleep. And once, just once, I woke up to see someone sitting at the edge of my bed, wearing a hoodie, smiling. So yeah, this is the story of my new friend. He wasn't just looking for company. He was looking for someone to keep him alive, and I think I made the mistake of letting him in. Now he won't ever let me go. This is the story of a friend I made online. A true new friend horror story. And if you've ever met someone through an app or a game and thought you really clicked, just listen carefully. Because I thought the same thing. This happened when I was in college. I was staying alone in a small one-room apartment near campus. I didn't go out much. I was the quiet type, the one who liked staying in, listening to music, playing games late into the night. Most nights I wore headphones, shut out the world, and disappeared into online games. One night, while playing a horror survival game, I met someone. Their username was simple, Ashes13. They were good, really good. Smart, calm, always knew what to do in-game. We played match after match, and they always had my back. When I messed up, they didn't get angry. They just laughed and said, "Don't worry, I've got you." We started chatting more after that, not just in the game, but through messages. Then voice chat. Ashes had a soft, low voice, a bit cold, but friendly enough. They said they were also in college, also liked horror games and didn't have many friends. Just like me. We talked every day after that, sometimes for hours. I started looking forward to our chats more than anything else. It felt like I'd finally found someone who got me, who didn't judge me, who didn't care that I stayed up late and didn't go outside much. Then one night, Ashes asked something strange. They said, "You ever feel like someone's watching you when you're alone?" I laughed and said, "All the time, but that's just my imagination." There was a pause. Then they replied, "It's not your imagination." I waited for the punchline, a joke, a laugh, but nothing came. I brushed it off. Thought they were just trying to be creepy. After all, we were playing horror games. Maybe it was just part of the fun. But then things started getting weird. Late at night, I'd hear scratching. Not from the walls, but from inside the room. Light scratching, like nails dragging across the wooden floor. I'd turn on the lights. Nothing. Then my computer started turning on by itself. Even when it was shut down, each time it booted up, the same game would open. The one I played with Ashes. One night, I got a message from them. "I like being close to you." I replied, "Yeah, I like playing with you too." They sent back, "No. I mean close. Really close. Look behind you." Froze. I didn't move for a full minute. Then I slowly turned around. Nothing. Just my bed. A pile of clothes. The window shut tight. I told myself it was a joke, just a sick prank. I even called out to them, "Ha ha ha, good one." But they didn't respond. Not that night. For a whole day, they went silent. No messages, no voice chat. Just gone until 3 a.m. the next night. I got a voice message. Just breathing. Slow. Deep. Too close to the mic. I blocked them. Deleted the app. Uninstalled the game. But it didn't help. The next day, written on my mirror in fog, as if someone had breathed on it, were the words, "You can't block me." That night the power went out. Total darkness. But my monitor, it flickered on, and there in the center of the screen was the game, the menu blinking, and a chat window opened by itself. "You said we were friends," I screamed. I threw my laptop across the room. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat in the corner, holding a flashlight, waiting for morning. When the sun came up, I packed a bag and left. Moved in with a cousin across town. Didn't tell anyone the real reason. Just said the apartment gave me bad vibes. But the story doesn't end there. Weeks later, my cousin called me at work. She said, "Did you give anyone your new address?" "No," I said. She sounded nervous. "Then why is there a package here with no return label and your online name written in red marker?" I rushed home. We opened it together. Inside was my old headset, the one I'd lost the night everything went wrong. And a note, still got. "You're back, always will." I never went back to gaming after that. Never made online friends again. Because sometimes, your new friend might not be real. And sometimes, they are. But they're not alive. And once they find you, they don't ever leave. This is the story of a true new friend horror experience I had when I was staying in a small town for work. It's something I've never told anyone in full detail, until now. So, just listen closely. It started when I moved to a quiet little town called Elridge for a temporary job contract. My company set me up in a small house at the edge of town. Nothing fancy, just a one-bedroom place with creaky floors and trees outside that scratched the windows when the wind blew. The town was peaceful, but I didn't know anyone. I'd walk around, grab coffee, and come home to silence. It was fine, until I met Daniel. I bumped into him at the local grocery store. I dropped a can of soup and he picked it up for me. Smiled, said, "New in town?" I nodded and he said, "Thought so. I know everyone here." He introduced himself, said he lived just a few houses down from mine. "You'll like it here," he said. "People are friendly, mostly." We talked a bit more, and something about him felt easy, safe. He seemed like someone I could trust. So the next time he invited me over for a drink, I said yes. His house was neat, filled with old books and quiet jazz playing in the background. He offered me whiskey, and we talked for hours about work, life, loneliness. I told him how I didn't have many friends, and he just looked at me and said, "Well, now you do." From that day on, Daniel and I hung out a lot. We took evening walks. He showed me hidden spots around the town, even taught me how to fish one weekend. It felt good, like I finally had someone in this quiet place. But soon, things started to feel off. It began with small things, like how Daniel always showed up at my house without calling. Morning, evening, even late at night. I'd hear a knock and there he'd be, smiling. "Just checking in on you," he'd say. Then I noticed something strange. Whenever I mentioned someone else I met, even casually, his mood would change. His eyes would go a little darker and he'd say things like, "You don't need them. You've got me." One night, I was walking back from the local diner and I noticed Daniel was behind me, not walking with me, following me, step by step, staying just far enough not to look suspicious. I stopped and turned. "Daniel?" He smiled. "Just making sure you get home safe." That night, I locked every door and window. Something about the way he looked at me didn't feel right anymore. Then, a few days later, I got home from work to find something terrifying. Photos, printed photos of me, sitting in my house, sleeping, walking through town, eating at the diner, all taken from a distance, like someone had been watching me for weeks. There was no note, just the photos, laid out neatly on my kitchen table. I ran straight to Daniel's house. I banged on the door. No answer. But the lights were on, and music was playing. I pushed the door open. Inside, everything was too quiet. No jazz, no movement, just cold air. Then I saw it, his living room wall, covered in photos of me laughing, me brushing my teeth, me through the window, and in the middle of the wall, one photo was circled in red ink. It was me, sleeping. Underneath it, written in handwriting I recognized as Daniel's, were the words, "Mine." I backed out of the house, heart pounding. I ran all the way to the local police station and told them everything. They went to his house that night, but he was gone. The wall was empty, clean, no photos, no evidence, nothing. Just one thing was left behind. A note taped to my front door. "You told me I was your friend. I believed you. Why'd you lie?" I left Elridge the next day. Didn't tell my job. Didn't pack much. Just drove. But here's Mao, the part that still chills me. Every year, on the same date I met Daniel, I get a letter in the mail. No return address. Just a single photo inside. A photo of me, taken from behind. Sometimes walking, sometimes eating. Once it was me at a gas station staring at my phone. He's still watching, still calling himself my friend. So now I don't trust new friends too easily, because sometimes friendship comes with a price, and sometimes it never lets you go. This is the story of Emily, a girl I met online, and at first I thought she was just another person looking for friendship. But sometimes, things aren't always what they seem. It all started about a year ago. I had just moved to a new city for work, and it was a bit overwhelming. I didn't know anyone, and even though I was staying in a decent apartment, I felt really alone. No family nearby, no friends. It was just me, my job, and the silence of an empty apartment every night. One evening, I was scrolling through an online forum about books and writing, something I love to do to pass the time. I started a conversation with a user named Emily Rose. She seemed like a friendly enough person, posting about books we both liked and sharing some interesting thoughts on a new novel I was reading. We started talking more, casually at first, then daily. She seemed so warm, so kind. She lived in the same city, which felt like a sign. Maybe it was time to make a real friend here. After a few weeks of chatting, Emily suggested we meet up. "You don't have to be alone anymore," she said. "Let's grab coffee. It'll be nice to finally put a face to the name. I thought it sounded like a great idea. It was the perfect opportunity to step out of my comfort zone and make a connection. We agreed to meet at a small cafe downtown, not too far from where I lived. I remember that morning clearly. I was a little nervous, but excited too. Maybe I'd finally found someone to share this city with. I walked into the cafe and looked around, waiting for her to arrive. Then, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Emily. "I'm here. Look to, your left." I turned, and there she was, standing by the window. I waved, and she smiled, walking toward me. She was just as I'd imagined. Bright eyes, a friendly smile, casual clothes. She sat down, and we started talking about books, life, and how weird it is to meet someone you've only known online. But there was something odd, something I couldn't quite put my finger on. Emily kept asking about my apartment, how long I'd been living there, if I liked it. And she kept telling me how lucky I was to have found a place in such a quiet neighborhood. The conversation felt normal, but there was an undercurrent I couldn't ignore. After coffee, Emily suggested we take a walk around the park nearby. I agreed, though I still felt that strange feeling that something wasn't right. We walked together for about an hour, chatting away, and then she said, "I have a surprise for you." I was curious. I'd barely known this girl for a few hours, but she seemed harmless enough. She led me to a small bench by the lake. Then, out of nowhere, she pulled something from her bag. It was a photo of my apartment building. "Look familiar?" she said, smiling. Her voice was soft, but there was a sharp edge to it now. I stared at the photo. It was a picture of my building from the street, taken at an odd angle. My apartment was clearly visible in the background. I felt a cold chill run down my spine. "Where did you get this?" I asked, my voice shaky. Emily's smile faded. "I know you. I've been watching you for a while now." My heart raced. I tried to laugh it off, thinking this was some kind of joke, but it didn't feel like a joke. "You've been lonely, haven't you?" "I can tell. You talk about being alone on your posts, and you don't need to be," she said, leaning closer. "We could be good friends. Real friends." I wanted to leave, but my legs felt heavy, like I was glued to that spot. Emily's gaze was intense. There was something unnerving about her, something I hadn't noticed before. She wasn't the person I thought she was. I pulled my phone out to text a friend, but the moment I looked down, Emily's hand was on mine, stopping me. "No one's going to help you," she whispered, her voice low. "You're mine now. You don't have to be alone anymore." I jerked my hand back, standing up quickly. "You're crazy," I said, trying to hold my voice steady. "You don't know me. Leave me alone." She stood up too, still smiling. "You'll see. I'll make sure you're never alone again." I turned and walked away as fast as I could, my heart pounding in my chest. The whole walk home felt like someone was following me, though every time I glanced back I saw nothing but the empty streets. When I got back to my apartment, I locked every door and window. I felt like I was being watched, even inside my own home. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak of the building, every gust of wind against the windows made my skin crawl. The next morning I found something slipped under my door. It was a picture of my bedroom. I could see the bed, the nightstand, even the book I was reading the night before. I backed away, my hands shaking. It was Emily. She knew exactly where I lived. I don't know how she found me or how she got those pictures, but I haven't seen her since. The police said they couldn't do much without evidence, but they advised me to change my locks and keep my phone charged just in case. And here's the thing. Sometimes I still get a message from Emily. Sometimes it's just a word, sometimes a picture, and sometimes it's a song. A song I mentioned once, just once in passing. I've moved since then. I left the city hoping to escape her, but the messages still come. And I know she's out there, waiting for the next time she'll find me. Because some people don't know how to let go, and some people are dangerous to trust.